Hey, good morning, everybody. So, we're still in Power Month. We talked about hypertrophy last time, how mass actually helps with power development and how force production is assisted with that. Today, we're going to talk about neural recruitment and how it helps power. So, one thing about power is that it requires a very short burst or not maximal effort. Your body has a few different mechanisms, and one of them is through the motor units. Now, you know what your muscle fibers are now. Every muscle fiber has a motor unit. Okay, this motor unit governs it to move, basically. But the fun thing is that every type of movement or muscles have a different pattern of neural movements, or meaning units that do different things. Okay, as we start training for specific things, motor units change a little bit, and not in a sense of they just turn from red to blue. No, they adapt a little better by sending what's called action potential to the muscle a little bit better. And this is done through plyometrics or maximal effort. And then we have not only just the changes of neural units, but we also have neural recruitment, which means you start adding a little bit more of the nervous systems to the myofibers. Because now we start recruiting more myofibers. Unfortunately, we're not born to use 100% of one muscle group. Not specifically. Now, with constant training, you start using more of that muscle group. That is neural recruitment, neuromuscular recruitment. And that's one way of training, whether it's strength-based or just going through the motions and learning. And then when you start adding plyometrics, the motor units itself change. So it's very interesting, and I'm not going to get too detailed and too crazy with all this stuff because it can get really in-depth. And I mean really in-depth. So one way to start getting more neuromuscular recruitment is just learning the exercise itself. And then once you learn it, you start challenging the all or nothing principle. Okay, meaning all or nothing principle is your body only activates what you need at that moment. So if you're doing a light day, it's only going to add a few fibers to you. It's going to say, well, I'm only going to give you 3 out of 10 fibers because it's not a lot of force you need. Well, what happens if you start going up that weight? Let's say you do a heavy day, 80% of your max. Guess what? Your body's going to respond to say, damn, you're trying to kill me. I'm going to give you 8 of those myofibers out of the 10 that you have just to pick up that dang weight. Well, that's exactly what happens. When you start challenging it, your body responds to it like that. It starts giving you more of those fibers. And you want that. You want that. That's going to give you more force production. That's one concept. So your basic 1RMs or your 6 rep max, those type of heavy lifting intensities help you with neuromuscular recruitment. Now, as for getting it to activate really fast, like the speed of light, that's when your plyometrics come in. You lessen the load and you go fast at it. But still considered as strength training. I mean, you still got to give it enough of a rest period in between sets, enough to get your energy back. Your fun energy, remember? Your phosphate system, that one. It takes a while to regain. So you want to bring it up like that. And I'll show you some exercise. I'll give you some more detailed stuff as I show you the stuff. But think of it as all neurological training. Okay? There are some other components that you need to it, but I'll elaborate a little bit more on the exercises and you'll see what I mean. There are a few different concepts of it. Alright? Stay tuned. I had Nick here do a little bit of neural recruitment by doing some clams just to wake up his butt. Mostly piriformis. That's one way of doing neural recruitment. Just activation. Then we have a tactile cue with a tape. Same concept, just with a tactile cue. So you could always use it. Performance gets better. Then now following into a
quick
Don't worry
impulse
about
of
volume, I could
plyometrics,
always
meaning less
take
speeding
that away.
up the ability of increasing
want.
muscle fibers
I
quickly.
take away volume
And one way
later.
to do that is by doing a 6 repetition set of about 55% or less of maximal weight possible as fast as you can. This develops speed, impulse of the neural chain. And we want that. We want that fast neural recruitment. Remember, only 6 and then a long rest period. About 5 minutes of rest period. If you feel like you want to develop energy-wise, maybe a little less.
Okay.
And then lastly, your 1RM. Remember, this recruits all of your muscle fibers, meaning the all or nothing principle. It recruits everything. You get more muscle fibers out of it by pushing it to the max. That's another way, but remember, 5-minute rest period.
Alright, so you might have seen some of the athletes do some neural activation techniques just recently in what I showed you on the video itself. There are some things that we could use to implement either the stimulation of activity, which is those clamps that I did earlier. Not only that, we could also use tactile cues, which is basically the tape itself, or we could do visual feedback to learn that we're engaging muscles that we normally don't engage. Now, not only that, you saw the demonstration of rapid force development, which is basically lower weights, but really fast and explosive, quickly. That way we can manipulate the neural recruitment speed, meaning development of fast activation of the muscle groups that you're looking for. And then you saw the all or nothing principle applied to the maximal effort exercise, which is as hard as you can, lift heavy weights, but you're not working on the speed, you're working on the amount of weight you can lift. Now, a lot of myofibers start to becoming more active with this type of development. What's that mean? Well, your body starts to learn how to use its muscle groups better. It's mostly technique, and it's mostly teaching your body what it's capable of doing, and that's what we stand here in ISP for. Remember, you are here to improve as much as you can. Generally these types of techniques are used for those athletes that require to stay small but yet powerful. Gymnasts is a good example. Cheerleaders, good example. Volleyball players, baseball players, you name it. All of them require this type of power without the excessive amount of mass. So those are some ways that you could get some power out of just neural recruitment. Now stay tuned, because the next one we're going to talk about technique and how important technique is just to generate more force. And we'll talk more about it on the next video. Remember guys, like always, leave me some comments in the bottom. I'll answer your questions as best as we can. And stay tuned for the next one.